throw everything away anyway, so who gives a shit? You always end up doing that. Or at least a lot of it. Alright, so this is inside of characters, bitey, movement controller. So grab the movement, and we're going to call get velocity magnitude. And we need a post update. Now I could have 5 outputs here for this multi-gate, or I could have like 5 different values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that macro multi-gate and make another macro that instead of duplicate and make it threshold multi-gate multi-value gate 5, and instead of having these value outputs here, can we have them be just object types, just uObject or something? Alright, so there's object and object class. Well, why don't we just do it by class? So let's see if I can even use this. Right, we cannot actually select these things. We'd have to pass in 5 different things in order to do it. Like I'd have to have 5 input pins or something. Or have some sort of pairing. Nah, I don't like it. So we're going to have a local variable, which is going to be the class, and we're basically wanting to so this is going to be a Dashkin movement state class. All right. So we have stationary, we have walk, we have trot, we have run, and we have dash, And we have sprint. I guess we don't actually have a sprint state. We also don't have a jump state. So let's go ahead and compile all this, save that. Let's go to our movement states. Let's duplicate the sprint or the dash state. Mighty sprint state. And let's have a duplicate here, which is going to be bitey in air state. We'll open those up. So let's see, we want this to be the sprint. This will be in air. Alright, let's compile all that. Alright, share gate macros, we don't need that open. We should have the bitey in air. Yeah, in air state. And we'll also have the bitey sprint state at the bottom here. Because we want to get the velocity, magnitude, and all that stuff, but we also want to check like if we're on the ground or not. So let's see, where were we checking if we're on the ground? Probably inside the player logic jump. Alright, so get physics state. Alright, there we go. I was like, the search functionality, I do not know how this works. And then I was like, well, let's just see if it's intuitive. And it was. So good job, Unreal. The movement was not awful. Or the logic was not bad. Alright, so if we go here, this is like the on ground stuff that we're going to be doing. And if we're in the air, then we want to like do this. Alright, so I think that's starting to look kind of decent. So if we're in the air, we're going to go to the in-air state. Otherwise, we're going to see how fast we're running and then go to our different states for like our different gears of how fast our character is moving and all that. So I'm going to need to take a very short break here and I'll be right back. So just a moment. Alright, White Savage 300, I hope you have a good one. Thanks for following. Alright, so what this should do is that we should switch to all these different states. So what I'm going to do, because we just made all this stuff, is I want to make all this stuff explicit real quick. So we're going to open up all the states again. I wish it saved which states were open. So when you reopen the editor, you know, it like opens all the stuff you had to open. Yeah, closed it. Alright, so trot, walk, run, dash, and let's just start at the left here and make sure that everything is got the correct stuff. So stationary. I guess the other thing I should think about is if I'm coding stuff out in blueprints, it's not going to work very well for source control because the blueprints are not code assets, they're binary assets. I didn't think about that. So I can't just pop open one of these things in version control and see what the hell I did. I don't know how I feel about that. So that's one of the big things. That's about coding stuff out, is that you can, you know, go back in time and see what the hell happened with a lot of these things. And if we lose that ability, that's kind of, I wonder how that happens. Alright. Blueprints and source control, Unreal 4. Let's see if there's anything like that. Yep, you're totally screwed. Alright, cool. I was just looking at it. Yeah, there's no way to get around it, so that's unfortunate. So I need to remember that, and, well, that's okay. We're just going to have to accept it for what it is. So these are state change events. We're screwed, yeah. Alright, so let's go to our movement controller real quick. And we need to put in all the variables here. So I need another variable, which is the sprint speed. No, we already have a sprint speed. I just have to use it. Okay. What I need open, though, is the movement stuff that we already have. Then kind of copy these values out. So walk speed should be... Let's hide a lot of this stuff. Walk speed is that. Our trot speed is that. Our run speed is this. Our dash speed is 10,000. Sprint speed, I guess we'll put it like 13,000. Alright. So let's see what happens when we play. What we should do is we should see a lot of stuff in the logs. Alright, so it's going to say on enter for stationary state, on enter for walk state. So let's go to that stationary state real quick. Let's just make sure we don't have a whole bunch of random stuff happening. State change from in air to on ground. Alright, we didn't actually add the two things that we needed to our movement controller. We need to add we've got these 5 states. We need to add 2 more. 1, 2. So we've got the bitey sprint state, and we've got the bitey in air state. Alright, so when we run this, we're going to go here, and how do we do this? It's step into, advance as a single frame, resume, oh, well, this is interesting. Set to stationary. Alright, so alright, so debugging really isn't that bad. Hit breakpoint unknown, alright. I'm not seeing any logs here for us switching states, so something's obviously wrong. Alright, so we are calling set one and oh, okay, yeah, I see what's going on here. Yep. Alright. Alright, so this is all wrong. We should be doing that. So it seems like a lot of this should be like a function or something, but we're not going to do that yet. We're just going to, you know, throw this around, all around. Let's make the spaghetti intensify. This is like cable management in some sort of data center. My pasta senses are tingling. Yeah. There. Pasta increases. Alright, so that will set our movement states, supposedly. So we're in our dash state, run, walk, stationary. In air, stationary. In air, stationary. Alright, so what I need to do here is the absolute of n, no. Absolute value of a float. So the absolute value here needs to be like that. But it is cool you don't have to compile anything. Alright, cool. So we've got that running, so why don't we start playing our animations. Now this is the crazy thing, is like we're already to the point where we can actually just start playing animations and replicate exactly the functionality that we had before, pretty much. So let's go to stationary. Basically on enter is where we want to just start playing an animation, right? So on enter called for the state. On exit, we don't want to do anything on exit, pretty much. So what we'd like to do is get the animation. So it's just animation, yeah. And let's look at our example macros real quick. Snag that. Gameplay, widgets, example logic. And this is playing an animation. Get animation ID by name. Play with duration and loop. Target is a Dashkin entity animation controller. Alright, so we could still use these things, or we could just call play with duration and loop. Interesting. Alright, so stationary state. Well, let me see here. If we've got Bitey and we have an animation here, why don't we just do all these things? Let's get something really obvious. Like, let's get this board. Because I don't want to have this animation ID stuff, but I could get the animation ID. Get object. Get animation ID by name. I guess it's just play animation with duration and loop. Alright, there we go. Maybe this is what we can call. So we can actually grab an asset here. This will be. Let's see if we can just do this. So it's getting called in there, but it's not playing, so let's figure out why it's not playing. Alright, our flipbook component is null, and our flipbook is... Wait, what? Why is our flipbook component null? Let's see what our we're inside of set parent and all that. Post setup. Our animation controller is not set up yet. Let's see what this animation controller set parent actually needs. Okay, so this animation controller should be initialized first. Probably this as well. So let's save everything, close it, recompile, and see what happens if we initialize our animation in our virtual controller before we initialize all these things. Order of operations. It's always important to get that correct. Alright. So now we have Bitey running around as a very bored Bitey. He's just like, oh my god, why have you broken all my animations? I'm so pissed right now. How could you do this to me? Alright, so that's the stationary state, so pretty much instead of that we want to do the S idle. Or is it S breathe? And let me see if I can actually go to Bitey himself in the animations and like do flip, S breathe, flip. If I can just drag that over here. No, I can't drag that into anything. So I'm kind of wondering, is it better for me to do this like S breathe sort of thing, or should I get the animation by name for the character and then we have to like name all the animations? I think it'd be better to name all the animations and then do it like that, as opposed to doing this like S breathe, because we might change the name of the animations and I don't want to refer to flipbooks directly. So we should get it by name. So let's take a look at that example logic real quick again. And so it's this get animation ID by name. And the name of the animation is stat breath. Nice. So what I'll be able to do here basically is we'll be able to remove all this garbage once we're done here, and it's just going to be a list of animations with names, and that's it. So instead of having like all this trash here, it's just going to be like a whole bunch of ones of these, and that'll be a lot easier to deal with, and I'll actually be able to, I believe, yeah, this will just be easier to deal with than it has been, and we can just not deal with any of this crap. Let's just control it in blueprints and just like, to hell with it. Like, it's easier to control it in blueprints, so let's just do that. Alright, cool. So we'll get stat breath in there, and kind of like that. Cool. Alright, so we're good to go there. So is there anything easier that we can do? Is there a play with duration and loop by name? Because it would be nicer to not have to do this twice. So why don't we go ahead and just make that happen? Is there a play by name? We just have animation IDs, we have get animation by name and all that sort of stuff, but we do not have it by name. Alright, so we have to go make those functions, is what it sounds like to me. So let's close out of the editor and do that. I'm going to check on what Adam's doing. Alright, he's messing with materials. Oh, he's working on water now. Alright. Well, good luck. That's going to be a real pain in the ass. Alright, so this is in the Dashkin animation control entity animation controller component, and we're gonna, it's already checked out. Alright, good. Alright, so what we have to do basically is every one of these animation ID ones, which is all of these, I guess, right here, we need to make again. So much. Well, no, he hasn't messed with a lot of that stuff before, so he's gonna have fun. I haven't messed with it either, so you know he's not getting any help from me. All right, so what should we call this? It would be kind of nice to just have these called play, and have these other ones be called like play by ID. Because if we're going to be calling something all the time from Blueprint, I would much rather... I mean, the other thing I could do is just change it so the only things exposed to Blueprints are the others, but no, I think this is a better plan. Just to do it just like this, and we'll do a const effector reference, and we'll just call it animation, just like that. Alright, so we've got all that, and we go to our animation controller component, and we basically want to get all these play animations. Play from time, play reverse, so all these guys are going to be copied. Yeah, the name and type stuff, so probably be improving this over time. So we're just creating a whole bunch of functions that will be convenience functions, and we can reference everything by name, because that's really what we'll be doing. So let's start doing exactly that. Alright, well first let's just copy paste these so we have all that done. Like I made it an F vector when it should be an F string. Did I do the same thing over here? Yeah. I don't know where my brain is. Alright, so we have all this, and we need to then do this. And yeah, sorry, I'm just not talking too much because just trying not to fat finger something stupid like I normally do. See, it is 4 in the morning now. Best time to be working. I just like this. Once we're done here, we'll be right back to where we started. Welcome to game development. Okay, so what'd you do today? I made everything do exactly what it was doing yesterday, but different. Oh, good job. Keep it up. I'll have to change all these to play by ID. Alright. Very cool. Let's go ahead and compile it and fix any errors that we find. Alright, we got all the little tiny compile errors, so let's fix them. Animating ID? Yeah, it's animation ID. See, I'm missing semicolon. No constructor, play with duration on loop by ID. Should be right there. Cool. Fixing all the things. Excellent. Alright, so I've got all that, which is cool, and let's go fix the blueprints, because I think Fat Sack will be busted. And so our example, because we changed the names, because I wanted not play by ID, but just, or I didn't want to have play by name, I wanted play by ID and then play. Blueprints don't allow overrides, so we just have to deal with that. So okay, the AI for the dig animation needs to be compiled. Play with duration and loop. Yeah, so it just we just chunk that right out there. So it replaces it. That's interesting. It replaces it and then it just kind of fixes node connections. That's a little bit magically bad. I'm not super happy with how that didn't actually break the blueprint. So I gotta remember that. Basically, this return value is being slotted into this animation ID, but it just kind of... I would expect right here for this to have a link right here to the animation ID with a compile error. That it just failed means that, like, if I go change something in C++, it's not going to break the blueprints that it broke. They're just not going to work, which I think is worse. Like, when something's broken, I like it when it actually just breaks, you know, like, for reals, as opposed to just kind of like, oh yeah, sure, you totally just, we'll take care of it. You're like, you didn't do shit. You literally just, you're just like, I'm just like, hey man, make a salad, and it's just like, they couldn't open the bag of lettuce, so they just like put the bag of lettuce on a plate, and just like send it out there, and just like pour dressing all over the plastic bag, and it's just like, well, that's not a fucking salad. It's got everything a salad is supposed to have, but you know, like, you missed a spot there. And he's like, nah, man, it's fine. It's totally fine. Like, it's not fine. It's a plastic bag on my plate instead of a fucking salad. Obviously, that's just being an unruly customer. Alright, so now I can just get rid of this, and instead of all that garbage, we just have one. Play by name. That is real easy. So So basically, for the stationary state, what's going to happen is we enter it, and then we just start playing the breathe animation. And then we can go through for like trot and the rest. We can just fix it. So okay, in air. I'll need the animation stuff open here so I can actually get the name that we assigned it. I should just be able to look at these, I think. That'll be easier to deal with. Alright, so what's the jumping animation? In air, I'll just have trot fall. So let's throw this off on my right monitor so I can be looking at that. Alright, so in air, we can just do this. Trot fall. Just like that. When we are, let's see, when we're dashing, we're going to get the dash animation. And that is, whoa, just dash idle. There, let's do run. Running is just run idle. And this will be actually pretty cool. We'll be able to rename all this garbage so it's not just so goddamn confusing. And I think this will be simpler than we were trying basically to data drive everything, and that was, I think, a little too unintuitive. Like, if I want Adam to be able to do anything on this, I just have to stop thinking like an engineer. I mean, I guess I could stop that sentence a little bit earlier than that. Let's see, this is the sprint, so we're going to do dash idle 2. So there we go. Stationary is there. Let's get trot going. And this is also what I'm talking about. Sometimes, like I've yammered on about how sometimes it's better to have junior engineers on the team than it is to have senior engineers on the team, because senior engineers have much more of a propensity to build a whole bunch of shit that doesn't really help, just like making a system complex because they know how to make a complex system, as opposed to just, getting the work done. Like, if you told a 3-year-old, it's one of those, there's actually, I don't know if it's famous, but there is an exercise which is, you want to, this is walk. You get a whole bunch of people in a room and you assign arbitrary groups to them. So maybe like you get 100 people in a room and you have them all form up with you assign them all random places at tables that seat like 6 people, like these circular tables, and you have 100 people and like everybody gets randomly assigned to a different table. And in the middle of the table is some noodles, some marshmallows, like a couple pieces of tape, and basically what you're supposed to do is build the biggest tower. Get the marshmallow as high as you can. And the people who consistently do the best at that are kindergartners and CEOs. And the reason is because the kindergartner just takes the piece of, the noodles and just like slams it into the marshmallow.